Thank you, my dear friends, students, and other invitees. We are going to talk about work today. In fact, every one of us, every living being, not just human being, for every living being, work is an existential nature. We start working from the time we are born, and we work until we die. I don't know whether we think about it or not. When we do no work, it's work. When we sleep, it is work. Just 2 days back, I was just reading, there's one company which is willing to give you a handsome amount if you are willing to sleep 9 hours a day. So even sleeping is a work, as I understand. No work is also a work. And every one of us, the mosquito also works. If you have any doubt, get some mosquitoes into your bedroom, you will see. Until death, they will be working. So work is so important. So that's why we need to talk about work. And today I have chosen to talk about joy and work because it looks like these two are slightly going apart. And I have chosen to take a few ideas from ancient Indian wisdom, which perhaps can help us understand a little bit about this connection between joy and work. But before doing that, let me take you through a little bit of ancient Indian knowledge, a couple of nice visuals before we go on. It's a beautiful temple. I do not know how many of you have seen this. 1,000 years old and 60,000 tons of granite being used. The very surprising thing is in a 60-kilometer radius, there is no granite. So I don't know how they brought this much of granite to that site where the temple was built. Huge tower, a massive piece put on the top of the tower, very tall tower, one of the tallest towers one can imagine, 80 tons put on the top. Musical pillars, all these are part of this temple. Another nice temple, which many of you would have again seen in East India, is the Konark temple, again made of granite, 13th century, about 800 years back. And the idol, which is not there anymore, the idol was suspended with a huge magnet on the top. So when the invading Dutch army removed the magnet, the whole temple became a dilapidated structure. Every day, morning, the first rays of the sun is supposed to fall on the main deity. Let's look at a certain survey, which I just completed yesterday evening. I just analyzed it. It's a survey of 79 people with a work experience anywhere between 5 years to 23 years. And there are questions about work, and let's see what they have to say. Half of them, less than half of them feel results are commensurate to the efforts. So in fact, more than half thinks you put effort, we do not know what happens to the results. More than half, 51% to be precise. Either they have no idea or they disagree. Surprisingly, while that is the situation, 65% of them say no results means no interest in job. If there are no results, I think I don't have an interest in doing the job. 57% says it's very difficult to work without results. And so now we are in a very difficult situation. Half of us feel efforts and results may not happen, but if results are not there, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to have a problem. And that leads to the last two issues that you see in this particular chart. Result-oriented workplace, does it give joy? The red bar is for the first time a little longer. 40% of them disagree. They say, no, I don't think there is joy in a result-oriented workplace. And 76% of them say work is stressful. I think in some sense this reflects the situation that we have in hand. So what do we do now? While we put efforts, sometimes results don't come. If results don't come, I seem to be very disappointed and there is no joy. So we are in a very classic situation now. So how do we solve this problem? Do we take our hands off, or do we say I don't work anymore, I'll just go off? Or do I say that I live with this problem and then I'll continue to do? So this is the central issue that Bhagavad Gita also sort of addresses. So we are talking about work. A large number of people across the world, there are quite a few research papers, if you're interested, you can look at. Large number of people today complain of deprived meaning in workplace. It could be a corporate executive, it could be a priest in a temple, it could be a student who is studying. Sometimes he or she asks this question, what's going on here? What is the meaning of all this? So deprived meaning in workplace is a sure recipe for stress, because human beings, the energy is meaning. For any organic living entity, the energy is in meaning. The day we lose our meaning, then stress starts happening. So that perhaps explains why we talk about stress and burnout, and these kinds of issues are hugely researched. People are looking at it from all different dimensions and try to understand what do we do. And very clearly, this takes us to a situation where work and joy can start moving away. In fact, this is precisely what Arjuna faced in the war. If you read the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, he had exactly the same issues. He felt that there is no meaning in this war. Why am I killing my grandfather and my teachers and my cousins and so on and so forth? He found absolute meaningless in the whole issue that he was going through. That created so much of stress and burnout for him. He said, I will just move away. This is not the place for me. And there was no joy for him. So therefore, this whole conversation that happened between Krishna and Arjuna, one would expect that it should give some ideas in terms of what will happen if you really face this situation. And that's the reason, in fact, several years back when I stepped into Bhagavad Gita, these are some of the reasons why I started researching. I said there must be some interesting ideas because situations seem to be not very different. In fact, our dominant thinking, for many of us, the dominant thinking is hard work always leads to good results. The always is very important. When I mean always 100%, I put my best efforts, I'll thumb the desk and say I need the results. That's what our dominant thinking is. As Krishna so beautifully says in Bhagavad Gita, he has a nice mechanism by which he describes how work happens, how work outcomes happen. So he has a 5-part definition which he says really drives all these issues that we go through on a day-to-day basis. He says, Adhishtanam tata karta, karanam cha pratak vidam, vividasta pratak cheshtaha, daivam cha atra pancham. He talks about 5 beautiful things. First he says, Adhishtanam. You need a substratum, you need a basis to work, a mandate, a program on which you are asked to deliver whatever you need to deliver. That's called Adhishtana. Then karta, there is a champion, there is a doer. Then karanam, you need your team, you need your gadgets, you need so many other things so that you deliver the work. Then vividaha pratak cheshtaha, business processes. Cheshtas are processes. So you need different business processes. You develop a new movie, or just now we were hearing about a movie or a new product. Then you need a mandate, you need a budget, you need a project director, you need people around them, you need all kinds of gadgets, and then different business processes, you need stage gate, everything has to happen. Modern thinking stops there. Krishna brings a 5th factor called Daivam Chatra Panchamam. Now what is this Daivam? This Daivam in simple terms is, imagine that after all that you put in, there is somebody who comes and then rolls a dice. And depending upon the face of the dice, the results are given. I mean, it looks too cruel, but that seems to be the way. That there is a 5th factor which adds to the 4, which creates the work and the outcome. The work is done by us, but the outcome is done not necessarily by us. So that's what he says, and Krishna goes on to say, so the countermeasure that he is talking about is extremely important for us to understand what is called locus of control and locus of outcomes. When it comes to locus of control on work, who has it? The locus of control on outcomes, who has it? So there is a very famous shloka in Bhagavad Gita which says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana, ma karma palaheturbuhu mate sangastu akarmani. He again talks about 4 things. He says, you have the locus of control with respect to the work. When it comes to work, you can put the best foot forward. You can commit yourself completely. You can put the best resources, think through it, maybe work 24/7, all that you can do. The locus of control with respect to work is entirely with you. When it comes to the locus of outcome, he says it's not with you. That's the 5th factor that he was talking about. Now this may look so strange. I'll take a very simple example. We don't have to go for very complicated examples. Let's take a very simple example. I step out of this campus. I just want to cross the road. There's a bus stop there. I just want to go to the bus stop and catch the bus. One day I sat down and then started writing what will happen. Work and outcome. So I asked what would happen. I found about 20, 30 possibilities. So I'll just talk 4 or 5 of them now. The first possibility is I stepped out of this campus. I could not even cross the road. There's so much of traffic going here and there and the bus went. This is possibility 1. Second possibility, I did cross the road halfway. I was just standing here, I have to cross the other road, the bus has already gone. That's the second possibility. There's a third possibility. I crossed the road well in time, and I was waiting there for 5 minutes. For some strange reason, the driver did not stop. I find it in some cities in this country, it is very common. So you have no clue whether you will catch the bus even after being waiting there for 5 minutes. There's a fourth possibility. I crossed the road. Just about I crossed the road, the bus also crossed. So a simple idea of crossing a road and catching a bus, if this outcome is simply not in our hands, think about the complex things that we want to do. So therefore the question is then, do you take your hands off? Krishna says, Mate sangastu akarmani. You cannot say, I will take my hands off. Gita says you have to work. You are part of the society. You need to work all the time. So now the whole question is then what do I do about it? He comes with a very powerful idea. Instead of quoting all those shlokas, I'll tell you the concept behind it. He introduces a concept. He says, Tasmat karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. He says, detached attachment. This looks like two opposite words put together, right? Now there is an attachment, there is a detachment. So what is he talking about? He says first you need to have a high level of attachment with respect to the work, which means physically engage, mentally engage, put the best foot forward, put all your efforts behind that. That's the attachment part of it. And what's the detachment he talks about? He says if you have developed a certain wisdom in your life, developed a little bit of gray matter which you can develop right away, is to detach when the results come. Results come. Sometimes it goes this way, sometimes it goes that way. Is there a way you can step back and say, I will take what comes out of it? That is an element of wisdom that he is talking about. So he gives an idea that think of detached attachment, the possibility of joy and work coming closer is very high. If you are not practicing it, it can be very stressful. It can be hugely stressful because certain things are completely out of our control. Talk about one more issue. It's our, again, a dominant thinking that only good things can happen to us. Right from the school days, everywhere we are all coached. Oh, only good things will happen. Everything will be good. But unfortunately, life is not like that. In fact, Krishna says, nowadays we talk about buy one, get one free. So Krishna talks about it in Gita. He says, you ask for one, I'll give you one more free. You ask for sukha, I'll give you dukkha. Also, without asking. Right? You ask for success, I'll give you failure without asking. I mean, that's life. In fact, life is a roller coaster ride. Life is a roller coaster ride because I ask for good, I put my best foot forward. Sometimes it so happened the dice rolled in a different way and I didn't get things. So what's happening today? I see sometimes I see some strange things happening. When very good things happen, we just lose control. We go to cloud 9 and from there we lose control and end up in a hospital for some reasons because we seem to have an issue. Now if the results are so bad, I get into a certain other kind of a problem, I go to some other section in the same hospital. I think that's not life. I think our ability to take both of them, understand that these two are part of the larger game of life that we need to play. He brings it so beautifully in a shloka. He says, learn to live in a world of duality. This world is full of dualities, success, failure, like, I don't like, positive, negative, hot, cold. You can write a dictionary of dualities. So he says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, sitoshna sukha dukkataha, agamapaino anityaha, tam titikshasva bharata. It will blow hot and cold, please understand. That's life. That's the charm of life. It will blow hot and cold. So he says, can you learn to live in a world of duality? What does he mean by that? He says, don't be a thermometer. So thermometer, what happens when the temperature goes up, the mercury will go up. When the temperature comes down, the mercury will also come down. So it keeps oscillating back and forth. Whereas a thermostat is not like that. It stays. The very idea is it adjusts everything for the same temperature for which it is set. We are all, physical homeostatic by nature. Krishna is asking for psychological homeostasis. He says that's the way. You need to develop that attitude to life. Then this work and joy possibly can come together. Otherwise, it can also create a problem for us. So he says, develop titiksha. That's the technical word he uses, the Indian word titiksha, which means equanimity, mental equipoise. So essentially, what is the message that Krishna is giving when you talk of work and joy? He says it's all balance. The name of the game is actually balance. And what is this balance we talk about? There is one thing on the world outside. I mean, you do execution, you do interrelational persons, relationship, deal with people, you do executional excellence, visioning, planning, put the budget, everything. These are all in the world outside. But you need to do something about the world inside. That's what he's talking about. The two ideas that I talk about, equanimity and detached attachment, works here, not outside. This is the counterpart of discovering joy. It doesn't work outside, it works inside. So he says you need to balance the world outside and the world inside. There lies the opportunity to be joyful at the end of the work. Otherwise, work can have too many surprises for us, which can stress us out, which is what we are going through now. But I am reminded of a beautiful commentary of Shankaracharya written 1400 years back, his opening statement for a commentary on Gita. The first sentence he said, Dvivido vedokto dharmaha, pravritti lakshano nivritti lakshanascha, jagataha stiti karanam. He says, the stability of this universe critically depends on two concepts called pravritti and nivritti. In our context, what it means is pravritti is all that we do in the outside world. Nivritti is what we do inside, the good night's sleep that we were talking about. He says, unless you find this balance, joy will just escape. And that's what he's talking about. So the last point I want to make is all these ideas are not like chemistry or physics. It's not like you write an equation, you solve it, and then you're convinced that the solution works. Therefore, I have understood. These are all about acceptance of the mind. You can't just take it at face value, what I say, what Krishna says, whoever says. The first step in this whole process is acceptance of the mind. If the mind doesn't accept, we are not going to do any of those. So therefore, if you really ask me how to go forward, I believe there is a three-step process to find work and joy coming together. The first thing is these ideas are to be contemplated. I think we need to take our own time and think about it. Does it make sense? Is it worth doing something about it? What it really tries to tell to us, and all that issues are to be deeply contemplated. The real value lies in experiments. We must try, titiksha, we must try a small little experiment. Detached attachment, we must be able to do a small little experiment. And that can be a giant leap into the faith of these ideas. So the experiment will give us experience, and this cycle will continue. That experience will push us into a little bit of contemplation, maybe the next experiment and next experience, we are on our way to the road of joy. Thank you for this opportunity.